Well, then following SWAC bylaw stuff, but trying to keep a distance so that you all just can. But it's been good to see your comments. Oh, it's going away. Close. Yeah.
We were in a practice
The splash box is let's do this. But there's no.
Get this party started.
And that's what I love best about it. They're like, so ambivalent about this that I'm not even put through.
I'm cold. I'm not too cold. Cold. Yeah.
So you want me to log in and plug in here, right here. We can do that too. Maybe that's easier.
Morning.
Call with the sheriff. That was actually good. So just ran a little long. See if I can get this working.
Probably telling you about all the
I'm excited about it. Are we having issues?
I think we're ready. We can.
Okay. I'm going to call to order the Yamaha County Board of Commissioners formal and informal session for May 5th, 2022. It is Cinco de Mayo and it's 10:01 in the morning. Commissioner Sterrett, would you lead us in the flag salute?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item C is calendar session. Do we have anything to add to the joint calendar?
Chair, I just do want to mention, I don't know if this was put on the calendar, but today is the National Day of Prayer, and the McMinnville Ministerial Alliance typically asks us if they can use the courtyard area by the flagpole behind the court. So we'll be joining anyone who wants to join. We'll be back there starting at noon. But if there are more than one commissioner, just want to let everybody know we'll be over there.
Monday at 7:30. Did I get that right?
7:30 at Linfield.
I will be at Linfield. I suspect you'll be at Linfield.
Yes, it's a candidate forum, commissioner candidate forum at Linfield at Ice Auditorium at 7:30.
I'm undecided. I don't know. I gotta look at my schedule.
And then the last of the wildfire prevention workshops is this Saturday at Newburgh Park.
Wildfire workshop. At which part?
At Windward. It's hard to say, 'cause there's two yards,
What time?
and that starts at
Okay, anything further for calendar?
Yeah, Commissioner, I'm sorry to mention this for the first time now, but um, if possible, we'd like to schedule another executive session to have a follow-up conversation on some of the labor negotiation matters after next Thursday's formal session. So I don't know what else yet might be scheduled, but if calendars allow, as we know, we're in bargaining with two unions, Teamsters and FAPO. We've had an executive session to talk about the FAPO. This would be primarily to discuss the status of Teamsters bargaining, but we do have some other matters involving FAPO to circle back to as well. So if folks have time available after formal next week, we'd like to schedule another executive session.
So that's May 12th.
Yeah.
I'm seeing we have HR update. It looks like we may have a land use hearing. Is that what LU means? On this?
If you're looking at sort of the master calendar,
Mhm.
there are some dates where they will place those as kind of placeholders. I
Okay.
don't know that we actually have a land use hearing that's
Okay.
been scheduled.
You
can certainly
think we
confirm
do?
that.
No, I don't think we do. I don't
think
remember
we do
seeing
either.
anything from Ken.
Yeah, I don't recall
Okay.
seeing anything either.
Okay.
That works for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any conflicts at this point.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so we will schedule an executive session after the May 12th formal informal session. Okay. Okay, item D is public comment. This time is reserved for public comment on any topic other than an agenda item, quasi judicial land use matter, or a topic scheduled for a public hearing. Do we have any public comment for today? I don't think we received any written comment. But anyone on Zoom that has public comment other than an agenda item? Nope, seeing none. We will move forward to item E, which is department updates. And we were going to have Mike Barnhart with finance.
So we were going to have Mike join us this morning, but in light of everything that we've been working on this week and also with the Oracle ERP project and a number of things that are, he's very busy and also has a couple vacant positions. So he's also trying to do some payroll functions this morning. So I gave him a pass and told him we could reschedule his update to another time. I think just really quick, probably the biggest updates is he is in the process of, he's got some job offers that have been accepted and we have some positions that are being filled, the assistant finance manager position and a payroll position. The Oracle ERP project, again, Mike is done an outstanding job in keeping that moving forward. And that's really been a daunting task. You know, we're changing out the engines of the airplane while we're keeping the plane in the air. So he's doing a great job with that. We also did a transition on the purchase cards for the county. That went really well and successful. So yeah, he's been really busy. So I told him you got other things to work on, and I'd provide a brief update what's going on in the office.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, item F, work session. We have nothing on the work session agenda. Item G is consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay. Commissioner Sterrett moves approval of consent. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Motion passes. Item H, old business, we have none. That brings us to item I, which is other business. Item I1 is consideration to accept a quote and purchase from Harris Enterprise and Resource Planning in the amount of $55,725.42 for the GEMS 2021-22 maintenance and support. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to be approved. Item I1.
Okay, Commissioner Kula moves approval. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign.
And I
Thank
love
you.
that we're doing this, even as we're getting ourselves moving on.
Correct. This is going to be one of the final renewals under the old system, but we still have to run both systems in parallel while we're making these
Absolutely.
changes.
Move over.
Yeah.
Item I2, consideration to accept quote and purchase from Tech Heads for information technology, IT backup software licensing and maintenance in the amount of $27,498.08 retroactive to April 30th, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Any further discussion?
If I could just to call out with the retroactive portion of this, a lot of times Shane is working really hard to get the county the best price, and sometimes the pricing becomes available, and being able to act on solidifying that price agreement and coordinating and getting something, our procedures, getting it before the board present some challenges. So this was something that I did talk to Shane and gave him the green light to go ahead and lock in that pricing. And then that's why it's retroactive, is why we're bringing it now.
Sounds good. Did we have a motion to approve?
Yes.
Commissioner Kula? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
And I think it was technically Commissioner Starrett who
Was it?
moved. approval, because I thought about seconding it because I've spent 3 days seconding things.
Okay, let the record show. Commissioner Starrett moved approval of item I2. Item I3, consideration of approval of a proposed rate increase of 14.755% by Yamhill County Solid Waste Department for Recology Western Oregon, effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th of 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
It looks
Or
like
do we have
perhaps
public comment on this agenda item?
I'm happy to say nothing, but I might have questions.
We might have questions, yeah.
True.
So just for the record, please state your name and address. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair Bershar. Chair Bershar, commissioners, my name is Dave Larmuth. I'm the rate analyst for Recology Western Oregon. And I brought with me today our regional manager, Chris Carey, who's new to us, but not to the industry. And Ernie Martin is our operations manager, who is new in his role, but has been with the company for several years.
And sorry, what was your name?
Carey,
Chris Carey. Okay,
Carey.
great. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or discussion on this particular item?
Well, Chair, having been through these processes a number of times, I think it's important for us to outline why this proposal is before us, and maybe just get a little bit of information on the formula, the franchise, and how we're involved in this process, if that's okay.
I think it's a good plan.
Sounds good.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
Just maybe from Ken or Dave, either one, just kind of a brief history of why we do this.
Sure. Every year, there's a financial review of our contract and the services we provide under the contract. And the packet that we submit first to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and then with their recommendation here to the board, includes a reviewed financial statement showing our independent accountants' view of how the previous calendar year went for the company.
Mhm.
And then we also have a projected rate year for the company. And then we also provide projections allocated out to each of the jurisdictions. So Yamhill County has Yamhill County's share of the labor hours, the disposal, the administrative costs. So we provide that. And our contract calls for an operating ratio of between 85 and 91% with a target of 88%. So each year we evaluate the rates and our projected revenue and expenses to determine if we think we'll be in that range, in which case we would apply for a CPI-based adjustment, or outside the range, which is the case this year where we project to earn less in this case, significantly less than in a prior year. And then we propose a rate adjustment to get us back into that range.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So I noticed in your memo that after the Riverbend landfill closed to the public, you had to absorb quite a bit of business, we'll just call it business, but so how, can you describe in a little bit more detail how that affected your fiscal budget for last year?
Sure. So for last year's actual, it meant we made about half as much in return as we had expected. And it's the main reason why we project to be so far outside the range this year. Riverbend's change in status meant that the trash had to go to the McMinnville transfer station instead, get reloaded onto transfer trailers and then delivered down to Coffin Butte landfill in Corvallis. The rate we're paying in Corvallis is very close to the rate we were paying at Riverbend, but the processing and transport of that material is what drives up the disposal rate for the collection company.
Okay.
The nature of that of the closure, because it was somewhat of a surprise, meant, and with the impact to our business was significant, that we could have requested an out of calendar adjustment at the time to say something big has changed. We're not going to make the money we expected to make. We need a rate adjustment now. We opted to not do that. And so we've lived with rates that are upside down in that regard for basically the entire rate year last year, from July 1st of last year through June 30th of this year. As I mentioned, without an adjustment, we'd be looking at a negative margin of negative 1.85% for Yamaha County and an operating ratio of 101.78. So we're supposed to be at 91 or 88. And what we decided when we were discussing these is it's a large adjustment to get to 91. It would be an even larger adjustment if we followed the letter of the contract to get all the way to 88. So we're proposing to only get us back to 91%. That's how we got to the 14.75% adjustment. I'm not sure how the extra 5 got in there on the agenda. I believe it's just a typo.
Okay.
And this approach is consistent with what we've done for the other jurisdictions. Every other jurisdiction has their own share of the allocated costs. And so the actual numbers are different. The range is somewhere between 10 to 15%, depending on each jurisdiction. The only exception to that is McMinnville, because they were already using the transfer station.
Right.
They had their large adjustment back in 2018
When you set it up.
when the transfer station was opened for the McMinnville trash. So McMinnville will get a CPI-based adjustment this year. It should be 4%. But every other community we serve in Yamhill and Polk County is looking at a significant increase for these same reasons. The increase for the suburban zone for a 32-gallon cart weekly curbside customer is $3.25 a month, which would bring them to $25.27 a month. And for the large container, the 90-gallon cart weekly curbside, the increase is $5.41 a month, which would make their new rate $42.11. We have lots of rates. If you want to go into them, we have provided those. We're happy to look up ones if there's others that you're interested in. The other thing I did need to mention, as there are some rates on page 4, the debris box rates that aren't changing by the 14.75%. There are debris box ton rates and the delivery and haul fees for those boxes. And those are set based on the time we believe it takes from the average county customer to get to the McMinnville transfer station with the load of material. And then the disposal fees are based on what we pay at the transfer station to drop off material. The temporary boxes are flat fee boxes. So most residential customers, if they're doing a large demo project on the property, they would get they'd call and they might get one box. So they usually don't want to go through the hassle of getting a credit app on file with us. So those one-off boxes pay a flat fee for the haul, including disposal. And that's what we have written down on the rate sheet as our temporary debris boxes. Customers that have debris boxes on a regular and ongoing basis have a credit app on file. They pay monthly and they pay a haul plus disposal. So whatever, the haul fee is the same each time, and then the disposal is based on whatever each box actually holds. If that makes sense. Those are on page 4 of each rate sheet. That's what I had prepared, but I'm happy to take more questions if you have them.
Chair, one question that came up for me when you were talking about how you set up the transfer station. So McMinnville residents have already, absorbed the cost increases that were associated with it. Is there any, are McMinnville residents essentially accepting all the cost of now you using that transfer station for everybody else? Or are,
So
like a
everyone-
person like me who's out in the county, but are we taking on some of that cost? Do you understand what I'm asking?
I think so. The
Okay.
facility,
Because it already exists.
it does, and we had to make some significant changes with the increased
Okay.
traffic to the facility. We have some capital projects and scales, and we have a lot more material coming through, so we have more staff. So there's a benefit to McMinnville in the longer term of being part of this larger system now. It will put downward pressure on their disposal rates going forward, but there's not a immediate benefit, and there's not a subsidy where hopefully, if we've done our math right, everyone is paying or would be paying their fair share under with the new rates.
Okay, that was a great answer. I think you got everything I was wondering about.
Okay.
So thank you.
Chair, I just have a comment. Thank you both for being here. Thank all three of you for being here. We appreciate it. And thank you for holding back that rate increase and not making a special request mid-cycle here. So we knew that there were going to be the unintended consequences of the landfill reducing capacity and reducing deliveries there. A couple of things in terms of one of the concerns that we've had at the county is sort of the, when people look at this, in addition to being, strapped for making ends meet, we think, well, this might be something that they take off the table as far as something they can't afford. So then they cancel their service. And then we have the dumping in the county area. And I know our public works has been really pressured over the years as we've seen that increase. So, there's that part too, where we have to consider how this might impact the ratepayers and how they just simply can't afford it anymore. But again, that's not, anything that you did by asking for this rate increase. So I just, we have this trickle down effect of what happens when people just say, I can't afford it. I can't go here. So I'm just going to go here, which is in the woods. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have the benefit of having the history of these kinds of increases or coming before me. So I'm just trying to get some context of, is this a yearly thing? Is it, when is the last time rates were increased?
Sure. There's a annual financial review, and there's usually a rate adjustment associated with it. If we're inside the range, it's CPI based. So historically, that's somewhere between 2 to 3% in an average year. But in general, most years rates do increase this time of year.
Okay, so if we look back, it'll probably be within 2 to 3%.
For the years
Going
where
back.
it's been CPI based, yes.
When it was best.
Okay, except for 18, there was as well.
So in McMinnville in 2018,
Okay.
they had a large adjustment to finance the opening of the transfer station.
But they never, Recology didn't come to us
Right,
because
they
that was
don't come to us.
specific to
That's
that
right.
jurisdiction.
Okay, so you talked about getting to 91 versus 88.
I knew this was coming. It's confusing.
So if you were to try and get to 88, we'd have a larger increase, right?
That's correct.
Are you going to have to get there next year? I mean, are we trying to sort of slowly make this up, or is it?
So next year, if we were projected to be outside the range, again, we would still try to get back into the range. Hopefully, it would be a smaller adjustment. This should get us close, and then we do what we can with our projections and with managing the business to keep our costs down as much as possible.
Okay.
So that we can, ideally, we like to live in that range. That allows for those smaller CPI adjustments
Right.
that keep us there once we can get there.
This year,
Okay.
we were intentional about pegging it at the bottom, just because this is a large increase. There's a lot of factors out there with fuel and labor right now. So it's probably smart that we do that as well. So if things change and switch again, we're at the bottom end of it and it's not over allocated. That makes sense.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we were cognizant of that, plus just that we know that this is a painful increase. So pegging at the bottom helps mitigate some of that pain.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, I would say thank you, since I didn't see you all at the time of the sudden announcement. Thank you for taking over that responsibility of bringing the trash into the transfer station. Thanks for having it open, and thanks for taking on that role of hauling it to Coffin View. Realize it was a scramble, at least I saw it based upon quotes in the paper about a year ago, but thank you.
It was,
Yeah,
but
well, I should
we're
say
happy
thank
to-
you for all of
Yeah.
you, right?
Thank her,
But-
not really.
Yeah, sorry, I'll exclude Dave as I say this. Thank you. It's like
It
keeps
was-
our society running, right? you
Sure,
know.
we appreciate it, and we're happy to do it. We would have loved more time, but we had
Yeah.
to, our priority was to keep picking up the garbage. We managed to make that happen through a lot of extra work by our people, earning included.
Mhm.
And so we're happy to do it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I am one of your ratepayers, so I understand why this is needed. Okay, commissioners, do I have a motion to approve item I3?
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Starrett moves approval. Any further discussion?
No, Chair.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. And just to let the record reflect that it was actually 14.75%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
you.
Chris.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Feel compelled to stay because now the room will be empty.
You know, the room won't technically be empty.
Right.
And since it's a bomb shelter, it probably has never been empty.
Safe, yeah.
Okay, moving on to item I4, consideration of approval of a proposed rate increase of 7.3% as recommended by Yamaha County Solid Waste Department and the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, SWAC, for waste management of Newburgh Transfer Station effective July 1st, 2022. And I will open this up for discussion. I have a few questions and concerns, but I'll.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Well, I feel a little bit of a disadvantage just because I don't have the former context of it, but a little bit concerned that we've made decisions around waste management in the past year and a half. And now we're seeing rate increases come forward, but I may be misreading that. So I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, I think that if you're referring to the denial of the expansion permit that we did here, that the majority of the board did, I don't know if that, I mean, I assume that's related to them doing their sudden announcement of a closure. But I will say that Riverbend Landfill and Waste Management assured us for many years that they had many years left of life in their landfill. So with that, it is related, and it's also a business decision that Waste Management made. And they're bringing forward a business decision now as well.
Well, again, as I mentioned, we've been here and watched the process, and I used to attend the SWAC meetings and also listen to a lot more detail and the justification, and really went into the financials and the correlation to the CPI and all that. Again, and again, I was someone who voted against that expansion or voted in favor of the expansion because I feel like we we could see down the road that the unintended consequences were going to be that our ratepayers were going to pay more, and it was going to be significant. And so that's one of the reasons why Waste Management made a business decision based on what they had, in front of them and what they were dealing with. And this is the consequence. Again, it's not just sort of the what happens out at the landfill stays at the landfill. It has an impact countywide. So that was part of my reasoning behind that. And again, we look at this and it's just, the numbers are broken down. The justification has to be because of the franchise agreement and because of our ordinance. When I first came in, I railed against the whole government franchise concept. Where do we get off making these unilateral decisions that one company, gets the franchise? And the more I looked into it, the more I realized there really wasn't another way to guarantee that that the people that we served were going to be served, because who would make a financial contribution or an investment that a recology or waste management has to do if they didn't have a assurance that they were going to have an agreement. So I came around that. I changed my mind on that. And I've come to see that basically you have to go down to the penny to justify every increase you ask for. So it's not this, you decide on a whim that you're going to raise, do a proposed rate increase of 14.5% or 8% or 7%. So,
which is important in my opinion, because nobody can go elsewhere. It's a captive audience, right?
yeah, and that's why I was questioning in the beginning, do we have any competition here? Where's the free market? But this is a different type of thing when you're dealing with hauling and dumping. It's not something anyone can just go set up a landfill or start, collecting, solid waste. So yeah, it's been hard to watch. So I've been concerned about what this does to our county, but not because it's not because of you guys just coming along going, hey, we want more money.
And as I noted, I'm glad that you stepped up. Sorry.
I think with waste management though, here's my frustration, and maybe the two are not related at all, and I'm conflating them, but we just had a discussion in the past year and a half about the tipping fees. And in my opinion, that was a business decision, right? We had waste management approach us and say, we have to retool because of what's in front of us, and we can't afford to pay as much. And so our discussion was related to a business decision for them. We didn't necessarily agree on that decision.
Sure.
But now they're coming forward and saying we need to increase rates as well. And I realize that this is a business decision, but it doesn't feel like it's isolated.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So.
But as a reminder, we gave them a better deal.
Right.
I'm majority of the board, but I'm taking responsibility because I'm sitting here
Well,
too.
and that's really my point, is we gave them a better deal to try and absorb some of that.
Right.
And now I realize this is also a business decision, but it doesn't necessarily feel great to approve rate increases.
Chair, I wonder, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I wonder whether it might be something where inviting the waste management regional staff to kind of go over it at the next week's meeting would be useful. I mean, I'd love to hear from them. So
Yeah. I wanted to make sure, I would love to hear from them, but I wanted to make sure I'm actually not crossing two different things that aren't related.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised that nobody's here, but again, there's more to the story than just looking at a proposed rate increase. There's just so much more as to what goes into the justification for these, because it has to, in your case, per the formula.
Right. Okay. I don't know if I saw any deadlines or anything in here. But I suspect it's okay if we ask them to come next week.
it is effective July 1st. So there's a window there.
There's a window. Okay.
I mean, I don't want us to get too rushed for them, but
Okay. Well, commissioners, I'm going to propose that we move this item I4 and item I5 to next week so that we can have a chance to hear from Waste Management.
that sounds great. Thank you.
Okay.
And the more I think about it, the more I think they're not perfectly related, but they may be, and it would be good to get clarification on that.
Okay. Okay. Do we vote on that?
I don't think we need to.
No.
Well, excuse me, Chair, do we have a plan to move forward as far as who will be contacting waste management?
I could certainly reach out to Nick Godfrey.
Yeah, or, yeah, I can put it-
I think Nick would be good. He was on the,
I can also follow up with Ken and Ashley
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
That would be great.
okay, thank you.
And along those lines, I've really been appreciating Ashley's leadership and rallying and just keeping everybody
Mhm.
informed, both solid waste and liaison and departments
Yeah.
about the solid waste ordinance that's going forward in bylaws. So
sounds great.
Thank you.
Okay.
yeah.
So that concludes our other business section and public hearings. We have no public hearings. Which brings us to announcements. Let's see, Commissioner Starrett talked about the National Day of Prayer, that event today. Just a reminder, the Sheridan cleanup is tomorrow, not tomorrow,
Saturday.
Saturday morning
I thought tomorrow was Saturday too.
at the high school. So that starts at 9 o'clock. So I'll be dragging my kids out there. to help.
Going everywhere, all over the county.
Bribe them with breakfast, right?
And then the First Foods Festival is also at Grand Island starting at noon.
First
and-
foods.
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
an invitation to the community. It's partly cultural,
Okay.
their food ceremonies, but also like a celebration of fresh food. So,
Nice.
so
Okay.
you're going to be out that way.
And then the only other thing I had is just to thank our budget committee members again. That was a long 3 days, but Doreen App and Jenny Elmer and Jason Fields, thank you very much for your commitment and service to the county.
Mhm.
And I would also add, thank you for their contributions. I felt like it was really good to hear from them, and the things they said and observed and the questions they asked, I found to be very helpful for my own understanding of the budget and how other people are thinking about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was nice to see, because when you get fresh eyes on it, and we look at this and we deal with these requests that come from department heads on a weekly basis, but when they look at it with fresh eyes, especially if they're coming from the private sector, I love the questions and, the scrutiny, quite frankly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thanks, everybody.
Any further announcements?
Not from, no.
Okay, so I think we're done. So I'm going to adjourn the Board of Commissioners formal and informal session for May